I am so happy that we are able to have two amazing speakers with us. But before we start, I wanted to share that we are our upcoming sessions. We're gonna have next month our second part of the difficult people issues. This session will not be recorded, so if you don't want to miss it, please make the effort to join if you can. Again, it is not going to be recorded due to the nature of the topic. Also, if you're new here, welcome to your first session. Obviously, I am putting QR codes there. I am going to keep sharing the evaluation form and the attendance form in the chat as we move forward. And then, obviously, many of you have seen this already. This is a project that has been years, like literally years in the making. We created with our many tasks, many projects in mind. We created a GME planner, which is specific for coordinators. It has tasks divided by those that are required by for everybody, and then a spot for those are that you need to update based on your specialty or your institution. It's on sale right now. I will post the link in a bit. There's an English version and there's a Spanish version. So I hope you're able to get one. And hey, give us feedback on it because we strive to ensure that we are getting heard, that you guys are getting heard, and we can implement any changes that we need to that planner for future versions.
Do
Uh,
you have a copy on hand? We can see what the inside looks like.
I can send you pictures because I don't have it right now on my desk. If you email me at a CAD for PCs, and I'll put the email address on the chat, I will gladly send you more pictures of it.
Awesome. Thanks.
No problem. So yeah, give us all the feedback we can. We got in requests to create more versions. We are working. Yes, we are working on other versions right now. But we're starting to little by little create those because again, that took a lot of time and effort. So I hope you enjoy it. I am so excited with these two speakers that we have today. And I'm going to be honest with you, when we were looking for speakers for this year and these two people jumped in immediately, I'm like, yes, please. Because I like a good this topic so much. Janice Gleisner, she is the senior program manager at Carillon Clinic. I hope I said it correctly.
It's Carillion.
Carillon. Okay, perfect. And she is one of this year's recipients of the GME Coordinator Excellence Award from the ACGME. So I'm like, yay, so awesome. And then Dawn DeSantis, she is a lead program manager at Nuvens Health. I am not going to take any more time away from you guys. The spotlight is yours.
All right, I'm going to share my screen now. Hopefully I do this correctly. Which oh, here we go. I think I got it now. Are you guys able to see the presentation?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Dawn. I believe she was going to get us going on this presentation. Dawn, just tell me next and I'll move the slides when you're ready.
All right, so good morning. Thank you very much for that introduction. Something we don't have in the presentation that I was just thinking about as we were sitting here, Janice and I, met through AIM maybe a year and a half or so ago, and we often call each other and complain, quite honestly, about things going on as program managers, as I'm sure you can relate. And one of the things that we've been talking about recently is how hard it is to find the right people, hire the right people, and get the right people to stay. So part of us wanting to do a presentation like this is kind of to talk to everybody and start to have you all spread the word also about what it takes to build a career in GME, and hopefully reduce some of that turnover that we're starting to see creep up, at least in our positions we've been trying to fill. So our presentation today is going to be very casual in nature. You know, we encourage you to kind of share your experiences as well. Janice and I are going to share our experiences of being in GME for many decades, and kind of talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly as we go through. Next slide.
All right, so I will just say that I do receive a one-time stipend as the course director for Ames Foundations of Academic Internal Medicine for Education Administrators course.
And I received nothing, but I'm happy to take donations. I should put a Venmo tip thing up there. Is that allowed? I don't know. Next slide. And our objectives today are to just talk about some qualities and opportunities for professional growth, how to have career longevity and fulfillment in this role, different ways you can progress in this role, and how you could develop your personal action plan for success. Next slide. Janice, you taking over here?
Yes. All right. So we're going to give you just a short journey of ourselves, and we each picked out a quote that we thought was really strong and compelling for us when we're talking about this topic. And one thing I did share was the tree in my front yard here during the fall makes me very happy. And whenever I look at it, I can kind of see how there's a correlation between nature and trees and into our world, because we grow so much from the beginning to the end. I don't like to call myself an old timer. I call myself seasoned. I am black and pepper salted seasoned. I've been here so long. I have been in GME, I think, for about 14 or 15 years at this point, through a couple of different organizations. I worked up in Wisconsin at Marshfield Clinic Systems in the dermatology residency program and a couple of other smaller programs. And I absolutely loved it, but I did leave for a short time and discovered how much I missed the world of GME. I missed the interactions with our faculty and with our learners. And so I got back into it, and Carillion was kind enough to hire me, and I got to move to Virginia, where I absolutely love it. And when I stop and think about it, I just think of the interactions and the growth that I was able to have through GME that I was not able to experience in other roles. And so as we go through this presentation, we're going to talk about that, and hopefully I can give you guys some more information on what drove my decisions.
All right. So I don't feel like Janice is seasoned because she's so much younger than I am. But so one of my younger colleagues, when I was presenting with her last year, she started out the introductions by saying that Dawn has been in GME since the last century. And that's actually true. I started in this role in 1998, which might even be before some of you were born. I had no idea what I was getting into. I started out as a part-time admin assistant. I was a young mother, raising kids in a place with no support. And I thought, sure, well, the part-time role, how hard could this be? And that gig ended up being a 23-year career at the University of Florida in the Department of Pediatrics in Jacksonville. And I grew that role from the admin assistant, grew it into a division, and became the division administrator. When I left there in 2021, I was extremely burnt out. I really had had enough. And even though I was not the youngest of people, I wanted to try something new. I 100% told my previous colleagues there was no way I was going to take another GME job. And now I'm eating crow because I'm in another GME job. But like Janice, I got away from it. I went and did something else. And I realized, to my surprise, that I missed this environment. I missed working with the trainees and the learners, and I wanted to come back to it. But I knew I had to make some changes because I wanted this to be the last job I have before I am lucky enough to retire. So I came back. I landed in a great community hospital at Norwalk Hospital in Connecticut. I'm working with an internal medicine program with really terrific PD and faculty here. But I did set a lot of boundaries coming back and made sure that I kind of stayed in my lane, and fixed the problems that I could fix, advised on other things, but I didn't make everything my problem. And I didn't allow people to use me for things that were above my pay grade. And also didn't, wasn't available all the time, like I had been pretty much 24/7 in my previous role. I also decided that with this being hopefully the last thing I do before I retire, I really wanted to make it worth what I wanted to do, the parts that brought me fulfillment. So it's kind of why I'm here and doing these presentations. This is the part that I really enjoy as well. Next slide. So if you think back to high school, some of you, that's not too long ago. Some of us, it's a little longer. But if you think back to high school, did any of you, and if any of you thought this, I want you to take your mic off and say you did. Okay. Did any of you think when you were 17, 18 years old, I really want to be a GME program administrator?
No.
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 Right.
Where they existed.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly. I'm looking at the comments. That's exactly how I felt. I had no idea, what this is. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a teacher, and I became that. It was my first career as an elementary school teacher. I did that for a few years until I realized I was going to be broke forever, no matter how hard I worked. So I changed gears a little bit and went to work for a private educational company, still working in education that I love. But I was able to learn a lot in that role. I developed administrative and office management skills, marketing, sales, staff management, hiring, firing, and all of those things. So when I was looking for something else, when I was a young mom, GME really kind of fit in being an educational role, and it worked out great. And I started and I agreed to a 3-month gig there.
All right. So I've always wanted to be involved in healthcare. I knew it was something that I was strongly interested in. I have a long history of people in my family being healthcare providers. And so it was something that I really had a strong interest. However, I hate blood and I do not like weird sounds. So I knew that being a nurse or a physician or something along those lines were completely out of it unless they wanted to find me laying, on the floor passed out. And I've always had a pretty good ability to build administrative skills. So I kind of figured I was going to have to change my direction and go from the administrative side of healthcare. And that's what my degrees sort of got me ready for. I also knew that I loved adult education, and working with residents and fellows fit that desire. But one thing I've definitely discovered over the years is I love the ability to reach out to people who are in our roles and also help them develop themselves. Professional and personal growth are essential in our roles. And being in this job, being an IM, and even being at the institution that I am has allowed me to do that. So while I never would have pictured myself doing this, had I asked high school me what I was going to do, now I can't imagine doing anything different. So it's kind of odd how Dawn and I both started sort of at different tracks, because I knew I couldn't be a teacher either. I don't have enough patience for that. But we ended up in the same spot, and our goals are actually very similar, where we want to help other people realize their full potential and develop careers that impact not only ourselves, but our organizations and healthcare as a whole, because we are essential parts in the leadership team that are our residents and fellows education. So Dawn, I'll turn this one back to you.
Okay, sorry, I'm not paying attention because I was in the chat looking at all the funny comments.
I had to turn it off because I look at it and I just turn my phone around.
It's addictive. I'm like, criminal justice, what? And then somebody
Yeah.
said that this was, being a teacher and working in nursery school is similar to this job, and I couldn't help but giggle about that.
I do, Dawn, I actually say that it's like we're kindergarten teachers, but our children can prescribe medication. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So anyway, as we're going through this career, there are times where we feel like we're stuck, that we're going nowhere. One of the things I've heard throughout my career, and I saw it in the early years, is that there's no progression. When I first started out at this job, there was an admin assistant and there was a program coordinator, and that was it. There were a couple of institutional level people, but there was really no way to grow within the role. And because I have an education background, I really enjoyed working with the learners. So for me, there were times where I was asked to go and work in the GME office, work at the institutional level. It really wasn't something that I wanted to do. To me, that part of this job, that the accreditation and the checking the boxes of things, wasn't what I really loved. So I wanted to stay with the residents and stay working at a program level. But for years, I felt like, well, is this all there is? Like, what else am I going to do? Um, and it is okay to stay where you are. I think sometimes we look at other people and we think, oh gosh, they got a promotion, or oh, they went to the GME level, or oh, they went to work for such and such organization, and kind of lessen the value of what we do. And I want to tell you, if you stay at a program level, it does not mean your value is any less than anybody else that has moved around. In fact, I could argue another time that it's probably even more valuable. But there are periods of life where you can get stuck. There can be times in your life where you're dealing with, maybe you're newly married, you just had a baby. Maybe you went through a divorce. For me, I got a master's degree, and then shortly after that got a divorce. So the plans I had for that master's degree, those were put on hold, and I kind of had to shift focus. We care for our children. Some of us care for our parents, and sometimes you can go years with just not having the energy to really focus 100% on your career growth. And again, if that's where you're feeling right now, don't beat yourself up about it. That is okay. We all go through it. And Janice and I are going to hopefully give you a couple of strategies for what to do when you're feeling that kind of, stuck.
all right. So here is another quote I found, and I love that it's from the Female Entrepreneur Association. And I think, too often in our society, as Dawn said, we see what other people are doing, and we feel like maybe we're not meeting our potential, or we feel that because we're happy where we are, somehow that's wrong. So I want people to understand that if you love what you do, then do it. That's really important. Don't base your expectations on what everybody else is doing. So this is your path, your interest, your goals, and they are individualized. And getting stuck at any point is completely normal. Life happens. Your priorities shift as you go through life. And actually what you want to do changes. As we've said and seen in the comments, the plans that we had imagined in high school have changed over time. And here we are. And I think it's really important to remember that what you're going through, everybody goes through. Sometimes, you just have to turn off that LinkedIn or other forms of social media, because people are going to post only the really amazing things. They're not going to sit here and post when you're feeling like maybe you're stuck, but everybody has gone through it. And that's where, one, realizing it, having great people like where I can reach out to Dawn and I can talk to others, it can help you. So it is normal. Don't feel like there's something wrong with you.
So this is a quote that I really like, and I've thought of this in many aspects of my life. And this is from Martin Luther King Jr. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. So again, there are people who are very career focused, career driven. They know what they want, and they have the plan to get it. That was not me. I never really had that. I knew I kind of had an idea I wanted to be in education, but I didn't have a plan for that. But what I did do when I was at the University of Florida is that I just kept learning. I really had no idea where I wanted to go with it. But I realize life is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen to us. We don't know where we're going to end up, and just to be prepared for it. I grew up without a safety net, so I think kind of be prepared for whatever might come up has just kind of been embedded in me since birth. So I did take advantage of whatever learning opportunities the university offered. At that time, I got very involved with the Association of Pediatric Program Directors. I learned a lot there. I found mentorship there and guidance. And in the university, when I noticed that there was a problem happening, for example, there was an issue with our UME clerkship program. We just could not get the right person in that job. And every time a person left, the director would say, Dawn, can you step in and help? Sure. And after doing that 4 times, I said to him, why don't you just let us keep it? Like, my staff is consistent. Not that I want more work, but it'd be easier at this point if I just kept it. So we took UME. Similar thing happened a few years later with CME Grand Rounds, so we took it. Now, I didn't have this master plan to develop, a Department of Education within PEDS and become an administrator, but eventually I was able to do that. So I was able to go from managing one program and then adding some fellowships, adding some more fellowships, adding some UME, adding some GME. And then when I went for my review, I was able to say, hey, look what I've done. Look at what I've built. I think it's time for a new role. And that's kind of how we built the progression there. So there are a lot of resources that are available to you now within your institution. If you're a small institution and you don't have a lot going on, maybe within your organization. This organization that we're so blessed to have was built by like-minded program administrators who wanted to do more. This has happened all over the country. There's a lot of different organizations that have popped up that are available to you. LinkedIn Learning is a great resource. There are a lot of courses and things available there. Right now, AI is the big thing that's on everybody's mind. I know very little about that. That's a place where I go to start learning. YouTube, there's a lot of different areas. So think about what are the things that you feel you're not as strong in? What are the areas that you feel like I see this coming and I'm not ready for it? That's how I feel with AI. I see it coming. I am not ready for it. Those are the things that I'm going to try to develop. Or what are the areas that you like? If you feel like, I like presenting, but I don't think I'm good at it. That's one thing that you want to work on. So what I would encourage you to do, even if you don't have a plan, is as you see the step coming, take it. Just take it and know that you have in you what it's going to take to be successful. And if you're somewhere up those stairs and you're thinking, I don't know if I could take another step, look back and look at all the steps you have taken and how successful you have been, with every one of those steps.
All right. So, building your career, it's going to be in different stages. I'm going to cover sort of that early to mid career. And one of the first things you have to determine, where do you want the road to take you? What is it you want to do? What skills are you bringing into your role? So I am somebody who actually has a background in IT. My bachelor's is computer information technology. But the thought of sitting and doing programming all day is not exciting to me. I did not want to do that. And so I turned that over. My husband is a programmer. He can take care of all that sort of stuff. And I like the business side of it. So now I think it's important to stop and focus. So are you looking at, do you like IT? Do you like quality? Do you like teaching, finance, data analysis? We have to know what we're bringing along on our journey, because our skills are what we are going to use to convince prospective employers to hire us. And I think that's really important. If you have a skill and you don't know that it's going to be applicable, just, ask. I mean, it is amazing actually what employers are looking for now. Computer backgrounds, very important in any role that you go to. Where Dawn's talking about AI, that's something I love. I have been sort of diving into and trying to teach myself. Chat GPT and I have been sharing bad dad jokes as we learn how it works. And so I think that's really fun. Additionally, then you need to identify where is it you want to go. So do you want to be in the GME administrative office, or do you want to be working directly with your program directors, with residents, fellows, medical students? I think that's going to be important for you as you're trying to determine where you want your career to go. And one of the things that I think is probably the most important is what can you do to improve yourself? I think sometimes it's easy to sit back and just wait for the learning to come to us. But as we're seeing here with everybody who's called in, people who participate in these activities in national meetings, it shows us that people are interested in improving themselves. So you want to look for development activities, and that's going to help you. And that's whether you're going to advance your education, degrees, or specializations. I had my degree for a few years and decided to go back and get my MBA because I thought it would be beneficial. Additionally, as Dawn said, we're going to use different types of things to sort of help us. You can use LinkedIn Learning, you can use YouTube. I would say use the resources that you have right in front of you. We have an amazing Facebook group that is out there on GME program administrators and educators, but we also have groups like this one that's here, people who are doing this job, right now and are going through the same questions that we have. Use those resources and use them to help yourself become a subject matter expert in some of the systems that are going to be utilized. And whether that's going to be, being an AI person, or maybe being the person that people come to when it comes to visas, and working through the world of the government as far as trying to make sure our learners can be here. I think that's really something that is important and we sometimes forget. Now, we also have very niche avenues where we can say some of the systems we're using are just pertinent to us. We have our residency management systems such as MedHub and New Innovations, Thalamus, Eris. I'm sure there's others out there that I have not named, but become an expert in those. And what's fascinating and really helpful is a lot of them offer ways to educate yourself. They're going to have tutorials that are out there. Thalamus has Thalamus University, which is superb. I'm using it this year to learn about Cortex and determine how and if we're going to use that in our programs. Also, look within your institution. Dawn mentioned this, the UME world. Look at fellowships and other programs, and you can build your department one piece at a time. Sometimes coming into a program allows a person to stand back and say, what can we do to improve this program? It might require some changes, but those can be good. And because you're the person who's boots on the ground, you're also going to become that expert and the person that people are going to turn to. You can work with your HR departments on career development ladders or opportunities. A lot of departments and organizations have the ability to help you with that, and they offer learning. I know ours offers us the opportunity to attend meetings. We can participate in things like getting our TAGME certification. We can participate in these webinars. Those are all really important, and working with your leadership is going to help you become a better, I want to say it's going to help you become a better you. You're going to be more valuable to your organization. And sometimes you become so valuable, you do have to look outside your organization. But think of what you can bring to all of those places. The skills that you learn here are going to be with you for a lifetime. Some of the professional development activities that I really like to stress are going to be your specialty organizations. Look at those because those are going to provide some great forms of learning. I belong to our AIM, and that is a wonderful opportunity. I've been able to get involved in the professional development committee, and I've also been able to serve on other committees as far as planning our annual meetings. It's great. I've learned so much about what we do and what other programs are doing. We have INSAMA, so our National Society of Academic Medical Administrators, and our APC, our Academy of Program Coordinators. These are wonderful sources to have and to utilize because, once again, these are people doing what we do. They are going to help us move down that road. We are all here to support each other. If you ever go in and look at the comments on like the Facebook pages, I love to see the support. One person says, I got TAGME certified, and you will see hundreds of responses of people telling them, congratulations, way to go, you did it. Also, look at ACGME. They offer some wonderful opportunities for education. They have a whole page that's dedicated to program coordinators. AMI has a group. I've talked about the Facebook group. HCP Pro has a program coordinators handbook, which our organization actually utilizes, and we do book clubs. And it's fabulous to get everybody from our organization in the GME world who's available come in and we discuss what the chapter is about. And the perspectives that we can offer each other go a long way. You also have consulting organizations like Partners or Germain. You have YouTube and you have Tag Me. There are so many different ways that you can utilize everything available to you to build your career and start moving down that road to where it is you want to end up.
Okay, so, you've done all that now, you've built it, you're successful, and now you're mid to late career. And at this point, you're really thinking about, more maybe what I'm thinking about is, can I survive 10 more years? Do I have 10 more years in me to do this? And when I took this job a few years ago, that was the thought I had was, can I do this for 10 more years and not be miserable? Is it possible? So what I thought about coming into a new specialty, going from peds for my whole career into internal medicine was, I really need to learn the internal medicine world and I need to make contacts there. I'm totally starting over in that. And the first thing I did was I got on AIM's website. I started to learn about the organization. I started to see what committees were there that I might be able to join. I reached out to the head of a couple of committees and said, hey, I'm new. This is my experience, my background. I would love to, be a part of your group. Tell me what you all are doing. And I ended up on the same committee as Janice, and that's how we started doing our professional collaborations. But that has helped me a lot. It has really pushed me to continue to do presentations and professional development, which, having been in education my whole life, that is where I get fulfillment. I do teaching and mentoring. Janice and I did this presentation last year for a different group. And after that, both of us were really blessed with people reaching out to say, hey, I'm having this bump in my career right now. Can you help? Or, I'm looking for a different role someplace else. And I think we have a minute. So I'm going to actually tell you this story because it's not, sorry, Janice, I start talking
Oh,
and
no,
I
please.
but this is kind of a cool story. So the last time we did this, one of the people that reached out to me was very young, new in her career. She wasn't very satisfied where she was, and she was looking for a new role in a different part of the country. And we started chatting. We had some, monthly talks and so forth. I was able to meet her in person, which was wonderful because I met her in person in front of my PD, and now my PD thinks I'm some kind of famous rock star, which is great. But she found a job that she was very interested in Virginia. And I had a friend from a lifetime friend who lived in the area. And I called her up and I said, hey, you know anything about working for such an organization? And she's like, I don't, but I have a friend who used to work for that same organization. And I said, you're kidding. Well, I have somebody I'm mentoring who's looking at this role. And she said, my friend, I think, was working in that department. What a coincidence. Like, really, what a small world. Long story short, my mentee and my friend's friend ended up connecting. And it was literally the same job that person had like 5 years ago. And so they connected, they were able to talk very openly about the pros and cons of that role. And my mentee ended up not taking the role and doing something else and is very happy. But that's the kind of thing that I think sometimes we forget. And I think if you're working in a place where you're a one person show and you don't have a lot of people around you, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed. It's so easy to feel like I'm stuck. I got no way out. I have nobody to help me. But you do have people to help you, and it's like a web. You have people who know people who know people. So I would say get involved, reach out, don't be shy about it. The worst thing that's going to happen is somebody's going to say, sorry, I can't help you. and then you move on. If you are in a bigger organization that has, something's going on, or a new organization that's building itself, think about the things that you want and be a voice for advocating for those things. If wellness is important to you, maybe you want to have a wellness committee that you're chairing. Maybe you want a book club. Maybe you want professional development. You want to help bring professional development opportunities, but look for the things that would, really help you continue to focus and grow. And one thing I want to say about end of career. So like I said, I changed jobs. I'm not afraid to tell you this. I changed jobs at 55 years old. And that is a hard thing to do. But from the moment I applied to this job till I got hired was 1 week. And that happened because I had all the things on my resume that somebody could possibly be looking for. And it just so happened that this program needed somebody. They had a new program director. They needed somebody with a lot of experience. So when you go into a role, when you're at late career, don't forget all of the stuff that you're bringing with you. And one thing, if there's anything besides reach out for help, the other thing that I'd like to leave you with is make sure that you advocate for what you're worth. I think a lot of times we accept, oh, you're getting a 2% raise, and we're unhappy about it, but we don't say anything. Or we get a job offer and we think, oh, that's a little low, but well, I guess that's what they can pay, and we don't negotiate. So don't be afraid to ask for it. Don't be afraid to know your value and to negotiate for your value. And if you can't get it in dollars, can you get it in, well, then I get to go to 2 conferences per year, or you get to sponsor me getting Tag Me certification or other things. Maybe I get flexibility. I have small children at home and I need more flexibility. So maybe you get that in your time. But don't accept the bare minimum and try to advocate for yourself. You need to be paid for what you bring to the table, and you need to be paid for your experience. And now, when I have my annual review, once I get through all of the accomplishments, I go in there with a list of stuff I've done that is in addition to just running the program. And usually my last statement at my review is, great. So I fully expect that you're going to request the highest percentage possible for my review this year. And I let them tell me no. And so far, they haven't told me no. So it's worked. Not that it will always work, but it has worked so far. Next slide. All right. And so what if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, Dawn, whatever, you got lucky. I'm miserable. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of hand-holding and babysitting and all the stuff we have to do with these adults. Well, the thing is, there's no shame in saying, I'm done. I did this for a while. I tried it and I want to do something else. So one of the things that we want to remind you is that we have incredible skills. This job requires us to be party planners, counselors, budget analysts, education specialists. I can go on and on. There's a ton of things that we do in this job. So if you think that this is it, you've had enough and you want to try something else, there's a lot of different places you can go. Some of my colleagues have gone into admissions or higher education administration. I've had some that have gone into teaching if they have advanced degrees. Project management is an easy move. Event planning, for sure, if that's the part that you enjoy the most. You can go into clinical administration. You can become an officer operations manager. So there's a lot of different ways to take the skills we have in this job and use them elsewhere. Okay,
Yes, definitely. I want to remind people that just because there's something that you're looking for that's not there, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. I think Dawn and I have both done that throughout our careers, and it's gotten us this ability to have some amazing skill sets that we can offer to other people. And always be willing to work with others. If someone contacts you, don't say, I don't have enough experience. Learn from each other. I think that is one of the best things. someone and I from another organization are helping to do a talk on how the mentor-mentee relationship works. And it's not just that the mentor is teaching, but the mentee teaches also. And so always remember that you have resources like that that are out there. This is a difficult role. We are going to have to work incredibly hard at what we do, and we know that. And that's something that we have to take responsibility of. But we also take responsibility of where we want to get in life. If you don't know how to get there, be your own advocate. Don't be afraid to ask for help and be willing to take on some of the challenges that might be presented so that you can grow. Because there's nothing better than looking at a director or somebody on a committee for even for an award and saying, hey, I took this on and I did it. And look at what's happened. I'd be lying if I said that my award wasn't really awesome. It was fantastic. But I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for everybody that I've worked with internally and externally. I believe in one of my quotes was, it takes a village, and I wanted to thank the village that raised me. So definitely something important. And remember, your value isn't always in finances. It can be in your education and the contributions that you make. So I think it's really important to stop and focus on some of that sometimes. Dawn pointed that out. If you can't match something in salary, being able to go to a conference is fantastic. The experience and skills that you are going to gain from that, I don't think you can put a monetary value on something like that. As long as you go in with the mindset of, I want to learn and I want to do better. So we say, live your dreams. The quote here from Usain Bolt is fantastic. I think it's easy, though, for the world's fastest man to talk about how you just basically make a run for it. I definitely cannot run like him. But Dawn and I really want to thank you for taking the time. We can't wait to hear from people to see where your journey takes you. If there's time for any questions, we hopefully have that. And then we also wanted to leave you with some pictures of some of the journeys that we've been able to take throughout our lifetimes.
Thank you so much. Yes, we do have time for questions. Feel free to unmute yourself. I'm going to unpin Dawn and Janice so that way people can see who is talking.
Janice, do you want to advance the slide so it has do we have email? Do we have our email?
I don't think our email is on here.
Okay.
We can drop that into the chat though. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here so that I can look at people as we're talking. Definitely would like to welcome any questions that people have, and I'm going to go ahead and put that address in there since Dawn got hers in. All right.
Where is Valerie Brown? I want to see Valerie Brown.
I'm right here.
I love it. So Valerie, if you missed it in the chat, she said, "Can I share it, Valerie?" Well, you shared.
Sure.
I absolutely love where I am in my career, exactly where I'm supposed to be. Been there, done that. I'm at a time in my life where I'm just happy to go home at the end of the day, watch Netflix and eat a cookie. Yes, and yes again. I have no shame, no shame. Getting old, physically can suck, but there's so many benefits to being an empty nest and having your time and doing your thing. So yes, Valerie.
I have to say, whenever I feel stuck, I just go on an international trip. So that's where I am in
Fabulous.
my life. So,
I'd love to put in a plug for the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Germany. It's fantastic. Neuschwanstein is well worth a visit if anyone's looking international. I'm looking at some of the comments in here, and Andrea, first of all, I'm so glad that this presentation is coming to you at a time where you're trying to figure out where to go. And I really hope that we've given you some avenues for growth. And just remember that sometimes we have to grow the programs to what we're looking for. We have this ability as part of the leadership team to contribute to what happens with the programs. And I really think ACGME has been doing a good job of trying to advocate for our worth to programs. So anytime you have any questions, reach out to any of us, and we are more than happy. Sometimes it's just to listen, and sometimes it's to say, wow, you have amazing skills in finances. You should look at going into the financial part of GME. So let's see, there's also any suggestions on updating CVs and resumes with creative verbiage. So I am going to fall back on that IT background of mine. Chat GPT is fabulous. I have used it to beef up my own CV. I'd like to just remind people it offers suggestions. So you want to make sure that the verbiage that comes back to you, that it's truly pertinent to what you do. So if someone says, hey, that was an interesting comment, you're not sitting there going, wait a minute, what did I agree to? But ChatGPT is a wonderful way to build on your resume. And I see that Aurora said she uses Copilot. And send it to friends, send it to somebody. I have a really good friend in Florida who does a lot of professional growth and development activities, and I'll send mine to her and have her take a look at it, and she'll tell me what I've missed or what doesn't make sense. So
Also, Trisha, so AIM, the Internal Medicine Group, has done a series for their What Would You Do? Oh no, Janice, that wasn't What Would You Do, was it? That was just for us.
no, so there's actually that's a great comment. There is actually going to be a What Would You Do coming up on September 22nd on doing PowerPoint presentations. We've done the CV building. I think now we're sort of building up to being able to do that full-blown presentation on things that you can do to build on your career. If anybody is able to be part of AIM, I would definitely encourage it. And if you're not with the IM world or fall under that IM umbrella, look to your specialties. And I think a lot of them have organizations or have areas in place where you can participate in different webinars. And some of those are fabulous. And Dawn, that would be a really good presentation maybe to offer out if we could do one on how to build your resume and your CV. I think it was with an 8-part series. Something it went for a ways. Yeah. Everybody picked up certain components and did a presentation on it. So I will definitely say that there is a What Would You Do coming up on how to build presentations. So if you want to present and you don't know how to do it, we're going to be having something coming up. That's the one that's on the 22nd, and that's a 2-part series. So we will be talking about AI, Dawn. And how to integrate that into your presentations. So,
this is Valerie Brown again. I just wanted to jump in and just, thank you guys so much for this presentation, especially the part where you stated, if you want to move forward or if you're happy where you are, because we live in this society, this culture where you're just never enough. What you do is never enough. And then the internet or, social media doesn't help that. And so people are constantly, just feeling that they're never enough and that they're competing and comparing. So I think it is important to move forward with your career, but it's also important to be comfortable where you are. But if you do move forward, do it for you and not, because of social media, because you're feeling any other kind of way and so forth. So, so thank you so much for this presentation.
Yeah, very true, Valerie. And LinkedIn, I like LinkedIn because it's a great place to connect, but there's a lot of people who are posting on there all the time, and it's so easy to look at it and think, man, I'm not doing enough. But you know what? Forget about it. You don't know their life. You don't know what they're handling, what they're doing at home, how much free time they have, how many kids they're driving to sports activities, and how many parents they're taking care of. Like, everybody's life is different. So just give yourself some grace, but fight for yourself when you need it too, because I think one of the things I've seen with people newly coming into this role is they sort of expect the program directors or the DIOs or the GME leadership to know what they're doing and to know how long it takes. You'll know they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue, right? Like 90% of them, they don't have a clue. GME says, oh, all faculty have to sign this. Sounds simple. but not if you have 100 faculty spread across 3 campuses. That's not simple, right? No, it's going to take me a month. Are you kidding? I have to drive to somebody's house to get that done. What? So, it's your job also. You're laughing, Cynthia, you're laughing. You drove to somebody's house at some point, right? Like they don't know what it takes to get it done. So we have to be mildly aggressive, right? We have to say, sure, I can do that. It's going to take this amount of time. Yes, I can do that, but then I also can't get this done by that time because I'm not working at 8 o'clock at night. I'm not working on Saturday and Sunday. I'm not doing it. If I can't do my job in 40 to 45 hours a week, I'm not doing it. It's not happening. I'm going to remind you how much I'm doing. I said no last week. I had something happen here, which I don't want to get too specific about because I need this job a few more years. But somebody came and said, oh, so-and-so said that we're going to start doing this. And I said, oh, hell no, we're not. Not right now, we're not. I am a one-man show in a two-man world. No, hell, we're not. And I will die on this hill. Is it worth it to you? Guess what? Okay, we'll put a pin. We'll put a pin for now until you calm down. I'm not going to calm down. It's going to take a while. You got to
I
think that
literally,
way.
sorry, I literally say to them, I'm like, this is the list of things I have already going on. You want to add to that? Where on this list do you want to put it? And they
Perfect.
go, oh, and I'm like, yes. So is it above this, below this? Where do you want to put it on this list? Because this is my already doing this list. They're like, and they can put it on that list wherever they want, but is it more important or less important than this list you already got me doing? And I
Yeah.
will happily put it on there, but where does it go? And
Right.
that's literally what I tell them, like, I'll do it, but it's got to go on this list somewhere because I've got 2 kids and I'm a single mom. The end. It's
Yeah.
like that's my list.
I definitely hope everyone's like we are. I will say, from an organizational perspective, our GME department here at Carillion does a great job. They definitely understand what we have. And if you have somebody who doesn't, use that as an opportunity again to educate. They may not understand, but that's where we advocate for ourselves and we let people know what it is we can and can't do. And sometimes that's just what it takes. And hopefully they all listen. And because everybody's interested in our wellness, that's a huge thing that's come up. I did see some questions come up about the what would you do? And thank you to Leslie. She shared the link to it. So if you're interested in taking part in that, we more than welcome people to do that. Again, it's a 2-part series. And I'm looking forward to being part of this presentation on presentations because I think it's a lot of fun to utilize some of that fun computer background stuff like Canva and ChatGPT and getting that stuff put together. So I would definitely encourage anyone who's able to go ahead and take part in that. I see people are talking about, some faculty that we have here at Carillion who are absolutely fabulous. I know them. I worked with Dr. Stewart actually when I had smaller programs before I came over to this one. So, and I also saw comments about ACGME's, I want to say it's their leadership course. Now I took that, fantastic, absolutely phenomenal. Also look within your organization. I think we've said that. See what your HR departments offer because a lot of them will have sessions that you can take. And it's well worth that. And always be sure to record what you're doing. Like Dawn said, you go in and you show them your list. Record if you can. We have a system where we're able to record. And so when it comes time for evaluations, we can make that visible to our direct report or to who we direct report to. And they're able to see what it is we've done. So all of that is absolutely fantastic. And a spreadsheet's a great option also. I'm not sure if anybody else has any questions. I was going to say, Valerie, I like your picture. The Eagles thing hurts me a little bit because I'm a Packers fan, but
Oh, it is what it is. But yes, diehard Eagles fan here. And if there are any KC fans, I just want to rub it in. So thank you.
I'm going on vacation here in like about 2 weeks, and I'm so excited because we're going to be in Dallas when the Packers play Dallas. So we're actually going to that game. And my husband
Okay.
has a Micah Parsons Green Bay Packer jersey that he's going to wear. So I'm not sure I'll be making it back to work. You know, we might get stuck in Dallas. So,
Well, I have an extra Eagles jersey since we just beat them. So.
yeah. And thank you for everybody for the comments that you've been putting out there. I think Dawn and I just really want to make sure that we are showing and reminding everybody of what you're worth and what you can do. And you can make a career out of GME. It is possible. And if it's not for you, that's totally okay. And if you are where you are and you don't want to move on, that is okay also. You have to decide what is going to be best for you. You determine your path. And so I think it is really important to remember that if you're saying, I don't ever want to do presentations, there's nothing wrong with that. And then you have Dawn and myself who are like, oh, give us another. So,
And if you say, I do want to do presentations, but my PowerPoints are boring, who cares? Right? Who cares? Do we really go to meetings so we can see pretty PowerPoints? No. If I had, look, most of the presentations I do, I partner with somebody who's good at it, so I don't look terrible. But even if it looked terrible, when you leave this over the weekend, if you're thinking about our presentation today, are you going to remember the pictures from our PowerPoint or what theme it was? No. You're going to remember the things we talked about, the way it made you feel, maybe you learned something. So don't let that stuff stop you either. So, and
yeah.
I gotta run too because I got another meeting they're expecting me for. So
Yeah.
thank you,
Ladies,
everybody.
ladies, thank you so much for doing this for us today. I will share the link to the presentation later today. I will share the evaluation links also. Evaluation is open until next Thursday. That helps us with feedback for in future presentations. Uh, Again, for those who have emailed about the planner pictures, I am working on the email. I'll send it to you in a few minutes. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. See you next month.